Against New Mexico State, we would love to see Marcel Reed be a little bit more accurate with his passes.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into Locked On Aggies. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak. Thanks for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. On the show today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk a little bit about my opinions on do the Aggies win out. We're going to talk about some of the biggest surprises of the season so far, but we're going to start the season with what we need to see against New Mexico State. You know, we haven't talked a ton about this game, so I wanted to spend the rest of Friday's show talking about what do we want to see against the battle of the Aggies. What do we want to see here? And to me, the first thing I want to see without question is Marcel Reed be a little bit more accurate passing the football. So here's the situation for a game like this to me. It's kind of why you've heard me yesterday talked about, hey, maybe give Terry Bussey the ball out of the backfield. My thoughts on this are pretty simple. In a game like this, I've seen a lot of people in the comments, you're blowing over New Mexico State. If you lose to New Mexico State, then you know what I mean? Like we're not going to spend all week breaking down New Mexico State because we have more important things to talk about. But the way I want to explain this game to you is I look at a game like this as an opportunity to get better at something, to figure something out, to try something. This is a football team you should beat by 4 or 5 touchdowns, realistically, maybe 6. Like you should be, the line is 38.5, right? 38.5. Yeah, it's like 39 points right now. So that's 5.5 touchdowns they think you're going to beat this team by. Shouldn't be a close football game. And, so once again, to me, this game is an opportunity for the Aggies on the good side, the good Aggies, to work on something. And I think the number one thing to work on is Marcel Reed being a little more accurate with the football. Now that Le'Veon Moss is done for the year, I think you're going to have to throw the ball a little bit more. I'm not saying you're going to throw it 50 times a game because you're not. You're still going to be a run-first team. You still have some solid backs in Amari Daniels and E.J. Smith and potentially Bussey or wherever you go, Brooks, wherever you go in running back position. But I believe that you're probably going to pass a little bit more than you would have. Because what we have to remember about losing Moss for the year is this is an elite SEC back, one of the best backs in the conference, in my opinion, and I've said that. And you're losing an elite player. You are losing an elite player. So looking at this now, looking at the rest of the season in the running back room, you've still got some great options. You are in a lot better spot, like I always say. You're in a lot better spot right now than other teams if they were to lose, 2 running backs. So you're in a good spot. But I still think to win out, first of all, I think you're going to have to throw the ball a little bit to beat Texas anyway. But so why not work on it here? Work on this now. Work on things it's like, you don't fix things in the middle of a round of golf or like my softball team. We're working on things against the bad teams for the playoffs. That's what you do. That's what this team needs to do. And I think Marcel Reed needs to get a little bit more. So what I'm saying is I'd be fine if they threw it 5 to 10 more times than I'm expecting in this game, because, and on top of just, helping Marcel Reed continue to improve on the accuracy, it just helps with confidence. And another thing I have here is, I'd love to see Jabri Barber stack good games. It would be really cool if Jabri Barber had a great game. And I think that could be a win-win for both of these, for Marcel Reed and for Jabri Barber. I've talked about it all season long. I've been absolutely begging for one of these receivers to take over as the guy. There are points in the season. Hey, could it be Cyrus Allen? Is it going to be Noah Thomas? Is it going to be Jabri Barber? I would just love for one of these players, and I don't care who it is. That's the funny thing is I don't care which one of these guys it is. I believe right now, after watching a lot of film, that our best option, our best chance is Jabri Barber. I mean, I think he runs the best routes. I think he gets open. I think he has a pretty solid rapport with Marcel Reed. So that's, I think, your best chance. So I'd love to see him have a great game here. I mean, because confidence is a real thing. I mean, say what you want. You'll lose a painful game to South Carolina. You have your bye week, which is good because you get healthy, you get right. But, I mean, there's a bad taste in these players' mouth right now, and they want to get rid of that. And, you have 2 huge games coming up against Auburn and Texas, 2 games that you win. You're going to be in a position to do something really special this season. So, looking at this, the future of this offense and this team, I think that you'd love to see him build some confidence against New Mexico State because it's just going to help you out against Auburn and against Texas. That's all we're asking for is something that can help you build a little bit of confidence down the stretch of the season as you're trying to make a playoff appearance, as you're trying to make an SEC championship game. You control your own destiny. So, I'm fired up to see how the offense looks in this game. Because, I mean, here's the deal. We're not going to take anything away defensively from this game. I mean, I don't care if you have 9 sacks. I don't care if you have, I don't care about any of that. Like, it's not like we're going to be like, the defense, 9 sacks. We're going to get 9 sacks next week. That's not like, none of that's going to be reality. I'm going to take away things from the offense. And it's not like if Jabri Barber goes for 132 yards and 2 touchdowns and Marcel Reed's dialed, it would make me feel a little bit better for Auburn and Texas, but I'm still going to remember, okay, you're playing New Mexico State here. You're not playing an elite team. But there will be things that I think that we can take away from this game. And so that's what I'd love to see in this game is Marcel Reed be a little bit more accurate. We've talked about it. If Marcel Reed, and I mean, once again, ladies and gentlemen, something I believe I've brought up now twice on the show this week. I mean, if you look at this on the year, the completion percentage for Marcel Reed is 57.8 compared to Weigman's, which is 56.9. on the exact same amount of attempts, both 109 attempts. Reed's completed 63, Weigman 62. So, I mean, say what you want about the accuracy of Marcel Reed, but I mean, it's not like, hey, he's no less accurate than the other guy, in the same amount of attempts. He has a better passer, a better completion percentage. So, I think that's a way to look at this too. But still, I mean, Marcel Reed can be the next Jaden Daniels if he gets more accurate as a passer. I mean, the way Marcel Reed uses his legs, I mean, he can be a Johnny Manziel type of quarterback. I mean, just that shifty but also accurate passer. He can be one of those guys because it's a different type. It's not a Cam Newton. He's not a Cam Newton type or a Tim Tebow type. I'd say it's more Manziel, Jaden Daniels. That'd be my a little bit more comp there. And if he can get more accurate, he has upside like that. I mean, it's hard to call someone. You're saying I'm not calling Marcel Reed to be the next Johnny Manziel or calling him to be the next Heisman winner like Jaden Daniels. I'm not calling that. But I'm saying if he gets more accurate, and I'm talking just a hair more accurate, yeah, I believe he can be an elite college quarterback with NFL upside, with potential top, 10 Heisman race kind of upside. In this day and age where you see quarterbacks running a lot, and those are the quarterbacks that seem to have the most success when it comes to NFL MVP, Heisman winners. Yeah, I believe Marcel Reed has that kind of upside if he can get more accurate as a passer. So you'd love to see him dialed in this game against New Mexico State. I think he should be able to do that. I really do. I'm not too concerned about but I think on top of that, it's just the confidence thing. And then the last thing I want to see in this game is Amari Daniels look good. And that's another, speaking of confidence, I mean, Amari Daniels is now your guy in one of the more rush-heavy offenses, in football. I mean, you run the ball a lot, and now you're down Le'Veon Moss. Amari Daniels is your guy. You, as I've said today and all week and 4 weeks, you still have an opportunity to do something special this season. It's next man up. You lose a talented running back, Amari Daniels has to be great for you. That's just the reality. So I would love, like I said, the 3 things I'd love to see in this game. Not too concerned defensively about anything. I mean, I think we know what we know about this defense. I'd love to see him wrap up and tackle, obviously. I mean, sure, but I don't think that's hopefully will be a concern against New Mexico State. But Marcel Reed back here at the football. Jabri Barber have a game, be open, create space, easy passing lanes for Reed, and then Amari Daniels look good and have a solid game on the ground. If those three things happened, I think those would be the best takeaways we could possibly get from this game against New Mexico State. We're going to talk about the biggest surprises of the season to this point, and I think, honestly, it's the quarterback room, and I'm going to tell you why coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I got to talk about our friends over at Omaha Steaks. Nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. This year, skip the holiday hustle and bustle and save 50% off gourmet gifts site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, get a $30 reward card when you shop early and score an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE. With 5 generations of experience, they consistently deliver the world's best steak experience. And the gifting experts at Omaha State have made it easy to deliver the perfect gift with thoughtfully curated gift packages starting at $89.99. From legendary steaks to mouthwatering desserts and more, save 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE and a $30 reward card when you shop early. That's 50% off at Omaha, OMAHA, steaks.com and an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE. Minimum purchase may apply. Biggest surprises of the season, ladies and gentlemen. And I think there's been a few of them. But, I mean, the number one to me has been the quarterback room. I mean, you look at this point in the season, I was a huge Conner Weigman guy, and he didn't have a great year. I mean, heck, ladies and gentlemen, we just had a show on, I believe it was Wednesday, talking about, is Weigman going to stick around at Texas A&M? Not a conversation I would have expected this season to be having between the bye week and New Mexico State game. I'll just be honest with you. It's been a surprise. And the part of the problem, I think, for Conner Weigman in general for this team, and it's a good problem Texas A&M has, but you have a deep, talented quarterback room. Jalen Henderson can win football games. Marcel Reed can win football games. Conner Weigman can win football games. You've got 3 really good quarterbacks, 3 quarterbacks that I believe could start at a lot of different schools in college football, Power 4 schools. So, I mean, I believed in the upside of Marcel Reed. I believed in him as the guy of the future in this offense. But at the same time, I also didn't see what happened. When I said the future, I meant potentially next year, because I thought Weigman was going to have a great year and potentially get himself into NFL draft range. And he just hasn't had the great season that I expected. And I think many of us at Texas A&M fans, many of you everydayers here at Locked On Aggies would have imagined. So I think the quarterback room has been the biggest surprise of this season. I would not have expected Marcel Reed to be the starting quarterback for the Aggies at this point in the year. I just wouldn't have expected it. I mean, I really do wish the best for Conner Weigman and whatever the future holds for him. I mean, he's had a rough go of it with injuries, and it's just been a tough career for him. And I believe in the upside, but I mean, I just think Marcel Reed's the guy now. I really do. And I mean, I'm not giving up on Conner. I mean, I'd love to be wrong. I'd love for Conner to be great, but I don't know, man. I just feel like it's Reed's job to lose in the future now, knowing once again, he's the younger guy. You should always be scared when you lose the job and you're the older guy. And that is what has happened to Conner Weigman. I mean, he's the older player when it comes to himself and Marcel Reed, and he lost his job. Generally not a good sign for your future there. And knowing you've got an elite quarterback coming in next year and the year after and probably forever, I have a bad feeling for Conner Weigman. So I think that's been my biggest surprise. My other huge, surprise, and another one that I would say leans toward the negative side, has been the receiver play. I mean, I really expected this wide receiver room to be better than it was. I mean, it's just, I think that you didn't get quite what I expected so far this year out of you didn't get what I quite expected this year out of guys like Noah Thomas and guys like Ja'Day Walker and guys like Moose Muhammad. And I mean, now Jabri Barber's starting to come on when it matters the most. But I'm telling y'all, I really thought this room would be better. I thought that the flashes we saw last year, I thought you kind of knew what you had in Moose Muhammad, and clearly, and I remember last year we kind of said, what's Jimbo doing? Why is Moose not in the game ever? I mean, we know how good he is. I think it has to do with a little between the ears stuff, and we talked about it. He's done some boneheaded things and shoved some people and done some silly things, and he almost, I think it was against Missouri, right, that he should have gotten a penalty called on him for like shoving a ref, but he didn't. I mean, there's been lots of silly things he's done. But I still look at this and I say to myself, I think the future is bright for this room if they hit the portal well. But I mean, these guys, I just was expecting it to be better. I thought that you were going to see a better season out of Noah Thomas and Ja'Day Walker. We saw flashes, and I thought you were going to see him take those flashes and take it to the next level. And that just never really happened. And it's painful. It's disappointing. I was really hoping that wouldn't be the case. I was hoping that they were going to be a little bit better than they've been. And it hurts because, once again, this team's a run-first team. We've discussed that. There's no surprises there. It is a run-first team. But at the same time, I figured that these receivers were going to be better than they've been. And that's frustrating. And another thing we've discussed is that's got to be something that the coaching staff cleans up in the portal. I don't care if you're a run-first team. You still have to have a guy that can create separation, get open, and get you a first down when you need one, get you an explosive play when you need one. You need that in an offense. And I just don't think they have it in this receiver room, and they're going to find a way to get it. The next surprise has been the solid play of the offensive line. I mean, those of you every day here at Locked On Aggies know that we had a ton of concern about this offensive line all offseason. I mean, and it wasn't just me. I mean, I think everybody shared in that opinion, in the concern on of the offensive line. But, I mean, against all odds, this unit's been really solid. I'm not going to sit here and say they've been elite, but if you remember correctly, that's what we said here at Locked On Aggies. You didn't have to be elite. This group didn't have to be elite. They had to be good enough, and they've been good enough. So I've been positively surprised by how well this offensive line is played, and I think the future's right there. You've got some young guys. You've got a mix. You got some old guys and some young guys in this room. But I think that you've got a bright future in this offensive line room, and I think you got a darn good offensive line coach too, and I think that plays a huge role in it. I think that and this was not just an Adazio issue last year. I think Texas A&M has had we've got the guys, we don't have the coaches to coach them up issue for a long time. It wasn't just on the offensive line last year. I think you could argue it was the defensive line. I think you could argue it was all across pretty much the entire roster. So, I could see how that you could see how that's reality. And it was a little bit frustrating for people last year, but I think you don't have that issue anymore. I think you have coaches that are getting talent and developing that talent. They're getting great players and making them better, and that is how you succeed. The last surprise this year has been the lack of usage of the tight ends. Like I said, I believe it's right at around 20 receptions between your tight end room, and knowing how much Coach Klein used Sinat, last year at Kansas State, I'm a little bit surprised by the usage of tight ends. Is it an issue of the tight ends you have? Is it just a change? Is it a change of the future? It's kind of like, is it a change in the future of Klein's offense? What is it? That's kind of the question. To me, I look at this and I say, hey, I think that he's just got to get some better guys. I think that if he goes and gets a legit tight end in the portal, I think it could be huge for next year. I think he wants to use them. So that'll be interesting. It's been a surprise, the lack of usage there, but I believe in the future of this position group. So I am fired up about that. We're going to answer a few mailbag questions. Do the Aggies win out? Does the SEC championship game hurt you or help you for playoff? All those conversations coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, we'll talk about our friends over at FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same place where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment worth. FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, and of course, the Locked On Podcast Network. So, someone asked me, this was a Twitter DM, do the Aggies win out? And I'll tell y'all, I know y'all aren't here for me to be negative. I just don't know how much confidence I have against Texas. If this team, especially after losing Le'Veon Moss, I mean, if the Aggies come out and dominate New Mexico State and dominate Auburn, and you've got this game at home with a chance at the SEC championship game on the line and a playoff appearance, I could be convinced, into believing in, and I believe in this team. I think Texas is really good. Now, I also think at the same time, I believe in the future of Texas A&M football. I believe in the now of Texas A&M football as well. I'm not just saying, oh, it's Texas A&M, but I think that you're going to see, like, Texas might win this game this year, but I believe in the future of Texas A&M. I believe in the future of Mike Elko. I think he's got this program in the right place. I think he's taking this program in the right direction. I think that the right things are happening to where maybe Texas wins this year, but then over the next 10 years, maybe it's 6-4 Texas A&M. Like, I think it's going in that direction. With recruiting, I think Elko's a great coach. I think he's doing exactly what Texas A&M was looking for. He's getting the good players, and he's developing the good players. Obviously, this has been a pretty manageable SEC schedule. It's going to be a lot tougher next year with trips to LSU and Missouri. Maybe Missouri is not going to be the powerhouse next year, but Missouri having to go to Texas, it's going to be a tougher schedule next year. But I believe that this team is going to have a special season, and I believe they have a special future. So I'm going to say right now, I am 52% no, they don't win out, 48% yes. I'm a little concerned about Texas, knowing you lost your arguably best offensive player in Le'Veon Moss, or definitely not arguably. So if you come out and show me something against New Mexico State and Auburn and just blow those two teams out of the water, like you probably should, maybe I'll switch to 52 yes, 48 no. But right now, I lean just barely. I kind of give the edge to the Longhorns right now in that game. And this is something I want to talk about. And I want to hear your thoughts on this, because I don't know if there's an answer. I don't know if there's a yes or no answer. I don't think this is that type of question. But looking at the thought of the Aggies, if you make the SEC championship game, so if you win out, if you beat Texas, you beat Auburn, you beat New Mexico State, you're in the SEC championship game. That's done. That's a reality. And I believe it's the same for Texas. So there's a chance that game against Texas here in a few weeks is win or go to the SEC championship game. If you go to the SEC championship game, let's say you play Tennessee, right? You go to that game and you lose. Does that hurt you when it comes to making the playoff? I mean, we've seen that in the past, but that was more of the 14 playoff thing. That's going to be interesting. I want to hear y'all's thoughts on this, because, if the Aggies take care of business against New Mexico State, that might be a conversation we have next week. So let me know y'all's thoughts on that. Do you think that's reality? I'm kind of curious to hear what everyone has to say about that. But that's going to do it for this week here at Locked On Aggies. Thank y'all so much for being here every single day. I really, really, really appreciate it. I hope everyone has a great weekend. Got some good football this weekend. Got some basketball. There's a lot of good sports on this weekend. Got this fight tonight. We get to see Mike Tyson fight again. That's exciting. Hope everyone, like I said, has a great weekend. Appreciate y'all being here. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Helps the show out a ton on YouTube. Hit the thumbs up, the like button. Helps the show a lot. And then if you're listening on a podcast platform, leave a 5-star review, like and subscribe there as well. All that helps the show a lot. Really appreciate y'all being here on a day-to-day basis. Hope everyone has a great weekend, and we will see y'all next time right here on the Locked On Aggies podcast.